Hey everybody, welcome to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live in the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. And access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com and click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, solve some issues, cooperate, work together. You can do it. I'm also published all over the internet. You can also check me out at byebybluesky.com, where there's a lot of things happening on that site as well. So go check out the work that Susan Marr has done, some of the latest discoveries she has done. She will be updating the site with some new information on nano. Things that are coming out of her pet, actually. And a lot of you are having the same issue as well. I'm going to just launch from here at this point. With nano and the infiltration of nano in the body. A lot of your pets may be having rectal bleeding. A lot of your pets may be having issues going on in their gut. A lot of your pets may be having issues going on with allergens or allergic reactions. A lot of them may have issues with falling of fur. When you start looking at what's going on with nanobiology, nano poisoning, nano in the food supply, your animals are just as susceptible as you are, with the same aspects of having their aging accelerated, having their biological functions disorientated, having their systems broken down, just like you. And the same thing would apply to the pets as would apply to you. Do not give them anything with grains, rice, corn, soy, cereals, or bread. The very core of these foods are loaded with all kinds of nanopollutants, nanometals that will attach themselves to their digestive system, attach themselves throughout their bodies through translocation, and your animals will have severe health problems, tumors growth, cancers, broken down skeletal system, uncoordination, disorientation, and a whole host of other things that the nano poisoning will cause. When we're looking at some of the things that are being said about nano and about, what's going on with Morgellons, because that's what they're calling it. The whole Morgellon thing was a big, serious misdirect. And when we're looking at what they've done and how they've corroborated and correlated certain things to make it appear that nano has been with us all the time, has been a part of us all the time. I sent out a video and he mentioned about nano machines, and then the way they phrased it in the video, it made it appear like we have had these components in us. We never did. Cells are not a nanobot. Cells have a communication network all their own, tied to your DNA, tied to your genetic code. These bots have their own, again, communications network tied to programming, integrated with DNA, whether it's yours or XNA, PNA, LNA, GNA, or whatever form of nucleic acid they would have attached it to, so that it can assemble, grow in the method and means that it was designed or programmed to grow, and then create the functionality that it was meant to create inside your body. This is also going on with your pets. So Bye Bye Blue Sky, Susan Marr, is going to, she'll have a post up, whether it's today or tomorrow, so keep your eye on the Bye Bye Blue Sky website and look for it. You can see what's coming out of her pet and other pets, and I get this also from other pet owners, not just her, but because she is an activist, and she is very much on the front line with chemtrails and the nano and a host of other things. you can see what she is seeing. And again, there are in the health link, the nanoorganic link, you can see pictures of nanoparticulates, consolidated particulates, fused particulates, integrated particulates, which would have has come out of different people. And we are now no longer living in this theme or this reality of organic. We just had a discussion with somebody from Manitoba, and I explained to them, organics don't exist. It's impossible. Today, that's a virtual impossibility. And the guy was a farmer, so he understood what I was talking about. It wasn't a hard sell or a hard approach. Some of you have this theology about organics, which has no base in fact whatsoever. When we're looking at what's coming down from the sky, when you're looking at what's being crossed over just on lower levels, there's no way you could be eating anything organic today. And if it somehow managed to escape the issues of the environment, it is placed in a more toxic environment when the things are stored in silos, in containers. Stuff they spray in those containers, the silos that they use certain components as well, the irradiation of the food supply. It's a horrendous scheme that's going on today, and we have to be again very much aware. The health issues that are concerning a lot of you today is not coming from the food itself you're eating. Food in and of itself is not going to cause you problems, unless there's certain foods like soy or some other things that have a highly overestrogenic effect. They can cause a disruption in the chemistry. But in essence, foods, doesn't matter what you eat, doesn't matter what style you eat, whether you're eating all meat, all fruit, or all vegetable, all even grain, if it was again safe and not genetically altered or engineered. When you're talking the very foods you're eating today, you're looking at what is in the food that's in the things you're eating today. Yeah, so when we're looking at some of the things that we're concerned with today, there's been a lot of changes. Okay. Hold on. When we're looking at some of the innuendo that's being propagated today on nano and being propagated today, you're being sold, and this is where prudence and wisdom comes into play here. When we're looking at what we're seeing today and what's being sold as a safe compilation of nano that you should be able to consume, a lot of that is just what it is, innuendo, hearsay, and there's absolutely no base in fact to what they're saying, none. And you can look this up yourself. Go look up any metal you want, any form of metal on a nanoscale, and you're going to find that these things are so lethal and so damaging and so dangerous that you are going to be in shock at what is being perpetrated in the general public and what is the reality. I don't care what metal it is. Metals in any way, shape, or form on a nanoscale are lethal, period. And where they go, what they do, how they translocate through the body, where they wind up in the brain, what they do to the brain, what they do to the system. These are things that, again, they're not discussing. They're saying it can kill X, Y, Z, but it doesn't say that. They don't tell you the other side of the coin, but it can also kill the host who carries X, Y, Z. Or it can seriously damage the host that carries X, Y, Z. Or it can seriously mutate the host that carries X, Y, Z. See, they don't tell you that little tidbit. They don't tell you that little fact. And this is very important that you understand this, that you don't get caught up on the hyperbole of what the sales pitch is going on. The nano is going to be sold and pitched very hard, and I'm going to tell you how they're going to come along with it. They're going to come along with it to how it can kill cancer, or it can treat some sort of profound diseases that we've never heard of before by combining the nano metal, whether it be a silver, gold, copper, or whatever they're going to put into whatever herb. So when you're looking at this, you have to recognize it's not the nano that is going to be doing, or the herb. The nano will kill anything. It kills any cancer. That's a given. But also kills the host. That's the drawback. We can kill the cancer, but we're going to kill the person too. Which is not unusual for the medical industry, because that's what they essentially do anyway. When they spray you with chemicals, when they give you chemotherapy or radiation therapy, this is essentially what they're doing. They're killing both the host and the ailment. You will never find a solution in the medical institutions today in regard to finding real assistance, real help, real solutions. What they will do is they will, again, impose the current status that's there today, which has never, ever cured anyone. Take a hard look sometimes around you, you know. It's funny, I have had more phone calls, and actually I've had more contact in the last 2 weeks from all across the United States, Canada, and even Europe, and down under with all the thunder, Australia. And it's been more and more people now are contacting me with the nano, or targeted individuals. And more are telling me the symptoms. More and more are sending me emails and describing to me the symptoms, and then I tell them what they actually have. And a lot of times it shocks a lot of people, because they're expecting that they've got something else. And this is the thing that everybody has to recognize. Whether you actually had a Lyme disorder or not, whether you have a nano disorder or not, whether you have any kind of malfunction or dysfunction going on in the body, whether or not you have whatever's going on, the fact that something is going on in your system should be sending alarm bells. Why is this happening? What caused this to be triggered? Why is this happening at all? Okay, what did I do? What didn't I do? These are questions you need to ask yourself sometimes in regard to what is really going on in regard to your body and to your health. You know, sometimes you think, well, I've been eating this way for the last 25 years, and then you propagate the fact that you've been eating a certain way for 25 years without thinking that the food supply that you've been eating for 25 years may have been altered or changed or had some additions to them that wasn't there 25 years ago. These are things that you want to consider. These are things you want to seriously look at today. We are living in the year 2018. We're already, in almost the first week of February. And we're living in a realm of disaster today. There's no trusting the government. There's no trusting the system. The system is broken. There's nothing to regulate the system. All that the system cares about today is how much money did they make and what's the bottom line. That's what it's all at today. There's no cost factor. There's no penalty for a company to promote or to sell foods or content that have poisons in them. There's no repercussions on them. The automobile industry has been getting away with literally murder for the last 50 years. They've never paid a dime into the environment that they help cause the corruption to. Not one penny. Not one. So when you're looking at all these industries today, all the corporations today that are here and are well off and well-to-do, what was their footprint that they left behind? What did they cause? What did they develop? How many people died or got sick as a result of negligence by these corporations? Let me reiterate, never ever take the responsibility or the blame of the environment upon yourself. Never ever do this. Ever. So my buddy there, Brian 396, he told me, remind him not to take the responsibility for this. I said, yep, I will. We are not responsible for the environment. We did not create the problems that caused the environment to become as corrupted as it has. The plastics that we are in the oceans today, before we had glass. Glass. Everything was in glass. Remember that? How many of you from the 50s? Remember when you were growing up and you had milk? Milk came in glass, not plastic or cardboard. carton. Remember the orange juices and the other juices? They came in glass. Remember that? All glass. Glass could be recycled. Glass could be crushed down, composite, and put back together in a jar or something else. Plastics, you can't do anything with it. It's toxic to the environment, toxic to produce, toxic on all fronts. Even it leaches xenoestrogens in the body. Yet here we are using something that can cause a huge, severe imbalance in the endocrine system. And then what happens to it? It winds up in the landfill or in the ocean. Who did this? Who created this? Did you do this? Did you make this? Were you the one that propagated the idea of consumerism, so at the expense of the environment? Can you say you had anything to do with it? See, that's how you got to start thinking. You got to start looking at these things correctly. You know, put the onus where the onus is supposed to be. Did you create a car that has absolutely very inefficient, high fuel consumption, high pollutant, and at the end, when you have to get rid of the vehicle itself, it becomes another environmental toxin? Did you create this? Did you invent this? Did you propagate this? You know. Did you stimulate these toxic byproducts into the environment and sold them to the consumer, gave them to the consumer, told the consumer that this is what they had to use? Were you responsible for this? No. So when you're looking at all these things again today, this is some of the things that you need to again consider when you're listening to some of the things. Some of the things that were being sold. It's in the music even. The music itself is extremely hypnotic. It's a problem. It causes problems. It causes you to start recanting the words to the music so that you become, whatever, or you believe whatever, because they got this self-hypnosis going on through the music. That's a frequency. It's even through television. When you watch television, what do you see? You see a lot of violence. You see a lot of basically soft porn, sometimes hard porn, and then everyone's got the idea that this is the way things are. I was looking at our prime minister the other day, Canada, and he was at some festivity, to do with the specific gender, and he was out there sticking out his tongue. This is something a lizard does. It must be some kind of mating ritual or whatever. But again, when you saw this was what I was thinking. This was being publicized throughout Canada as some kind of mainstream theme for Canadians. And thinking that if the Prime Minister is, if this is cool with the Prime Minister, this has got to be cool with the rest of us. Nothing could be further from the truth. And he only represents less than 1% of the population in Canada, yet he'll get 99% of the attention on this particular thing he did. So when we're looking at some of this stuff, this is how they do it. This is how they cage our thinking. This is how they get us to stay focused. They'll take a small percentile of something and then turn it around and make it seem or appear to be a main focus or a priority or a mainstream concept that's really out there, and everybody's doing it, and nothing could be further from the truth. This is how they initiate a lot of things. How they initiate us to get involved with all kinds of sexual activity, how to get involved with all kinds of violent activity, how to get involved with all kinds of corrupt activity, greed activity. It's all through programming. And when they get you programmed to believe that you're at fault, or you're programming that the behavior you're conducting is a problem, this is a manipulation of us to become or to go in a direction we're not meant to go into. And we're talking, like I said, through genetics and transgenics and epigenetics with the food supply. A lot of you parents have children today who are very young, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, who are now being prone to respiratory issues or asthmatic issues or pancreatic issues they shouldn't be dealing with, for at least, if ever. if ever. But what's going on is you're feeding your children bread, and this is how they get you into the bread concept, right? Oh, if it's a whole bread, or if it's a gluten-free bread, or if it's a bread that, you know, grown from sprouts, or it's a special bread coming, the seeds come from some other part of the world. I have news for you. Organic is dead. Number one. The seeds from those grains are also contaminated with genetics and transgenics and epigenetic materials, which will alter the way that genome grows. It doesn't matter where you plant it, the seed has become corrupt. And if the seed isn't corrupt, the land is. You know, so when we're looking at a lot of the things going on today in regard to, you know, what they're telling you about certain things as far as bread is concerned, now you need to understand that the moment you stop eating that crap, it isn't bread, period. It looks like it, smells like it, it tastes like it, but it's not bread. It's loaded with nanosilica, it's loaded with other nanometals. The grains themselves are sitting in silos with sulfuryl fluoride, which means that the sulfur will cause a binding effect to the grain so that when you consume it, because you now will be consuming this in high concentrations once it's all turned to flour because it's not filtered, you will then wind up with thyroid issues or pancreatic issues or stomach issues, or having an autoimmune disorder as a result of the silica content in the grains, which you can't break down. You have absolutely no way of breaking down silica. You don't produce the acid to do it. Whether it's coming from horsetail or coming from a stone, you can't break it down. So again, this is where prudence and wisdom come into play. Just because you hear a guru, just because you hear a doctor, just because you hear some speaker, doesn't mean what they're telling you is true. If you've got something in the back of your head telling you, oh, I don't know about this, then it's the onus now is up to you to validate or discredit what you just heard. In other words, prove it one way or the other. Don't just assume it. Don't just accept it. Don't just believe it. They say I got all kinds of emails the last couple of days. They've sort of stopped now when we did the other show about carbon C60 and how I told everybody what I thought about it and how it's a hijack. I got everybody now looking at. I got more people now looking at my website with the nano information. Understand what that is. You know, don't be anybody's fool. And don't listen to the less than 1% of the people who are advocating this or selling this crap. Understand what it is. You have to recognize, you know, when you're hearing something that you're not sure if it sounds a little odd, then start looking into it, you know. And again, don't look at it, don't look into it from the same entitlement that they're giving you. Look at the references, start looking at the references, and just type in whatever they're talking about, the hazards of XYZ. You might be surprised. You might be surprised. Like, what the heck is this guy selling me? How does he get away with it? People ask me that all the time. How did they get away with it? How did they get away with selling, you know, garbage? What's the secret? The secret is your ignorance. All I got to do is come out there, dress with a suit and tie, wear a white overcoat, have a stethoscope hanging between my neck there, rant and rave about the product and how great and wonderful it is and how clinical studies have stated blah, blah, blah. Clinical studies. Whose clinical studies? Were there really any clinical studies? So, again, this is my point. Look at what is being said and then start researching it. And don't just go to some of these med sites either. I know I go to one site to check out a drug, and a lot of times I just get out of there because it's so useless. You know, they'll tell you the drug, they don't tell you exactly what's in it, and they don't even tell you the composition of the material as well. So you don't know what the heck you're getting. You don't know what the heck you're getting. So keep. Oh, what happened? We're still going? Hello, hello? Oh, yeah, okay, we're going. Yeah, so again, keep that in mind. Don't just accept. Don't blindly follow the crowd. You know, if you got a doctor in the health food industry, again, talking in terms of health, you really better scrutinize. You really better scrutinize what they're saying, because a lot of those doctors don't have a clue about nano. They don't have a clue about genetics. They don't have a clue about genetics. They have no clue. They're just going by the same old thing that's been rehashed 99 times, and they're just coming in to fill in the void. So again, don't just follow. Don't just accept. Test them. Majority of these doctors out there right now, like I said, are in the health food industry, are not worth a hill of beans. A lot of the gurus that you've been listening to as well are not worth a hill of beans either. So again, take a real hardcore look at what is being said. They may take an aspect of truth and then contort it. And that's usually what goes on. So in dealing with stuff, we need to look at what's really going to heal and how things really heal, and where do we have to start in the healing. Some of you might say, well, we need to get cleansed. Okay, maybe. That's a possibility. You may need to do that depending on how bad your situation is. That may be a starting point. Or you may need to start putting in you may need to start putting in the actual things that are going to kickstart your genetic code. Oh, wait, what's that? Kickstart your genetic code. What do we... Whoa, what does that do? What does that mean? That means if your genetic code has been violated or reprogrammed or disorientated, then it means you've got to get that back online before anything else will start to work. You can cleanse the body, but again, if the genetic code is still functioning in the same off switch or accelerated switch, and you don't reboot that back to normal, then the cleaning that you're doing will have minimal effect. Short term, you get an effect. Long term, doesn't do anything. Until we get ourselves online with ourselves, by our design, by our divine design. Okay, that's how you got to start thinking about yourself. The divine design. You are not human. You're of the species of man, because God made man in his image, not human, not people kind. Yeah, our prime minister was at a speech, and you can see this was all being propagated. And when we come back, I'll get into it a little bit and talk about the stupidity of our system over here. All right, talk to you in a bit. Okay, I had paused my record. Okay, anyhow, I'm going to go over this real quickly again because I forgot to turn on my recorder, and this is going to be very important, because if I start talking about this on the pod, they're going to say, what the heck is this guy talking? What did he do? Okay, we're going to talk about DNA damage, and we're going to talk about GHK, and GHK again with copper can regenerate the DNA. And when we have those who have the lesions on the skin as a result of the damage from the nano poisoning, which they're calling Morgellons, but I call nano poisoning because that's what it really is. Okay, adding biotin to the GHK can cause high levels of superoxide antioxidant performance and help repair the skin. Okay, that's one of the things that they found it can do because of the way it works with collagen. Now, when we're talking in regard to when we're talking in regard to restoration of our DNA is a code. We are a summation of code that God created in us. We have our code communicates with each other, with our cells, with our mitochondria, our DNA, other DNA, genes, chromosomes, antioxidants, enzymes. It's a communications network within itself. And the way we're designed, whatever we get exposed to, no matter what it may be, good or bad, causes a reaction in the body to start functioning in a certain way. It's like a computer. You put in a syntax, a code, it will now function based on that coding that you put into the computer. Our systems are no different. I mean, the intricacy of our design is just phenomenal. Phenomenal when you start looking at the very fine intricacies there. So when we're looking at something here in regard to where it says normal metabolic activities, which could be anything from whatever you're consuming or you're breathing or exposing, whatever. And environmental factors, which can be also internal. We're talking transgenic, epigenetic. Epigenetic is something that can cause a genetic change or damage as a result of environmental toxins. Transgenics can be, again, causing genetic damage as a result of other genes being incorporated into our genome, again, causing a reaction in the system. So when we're looking at what we got to do, we have to again start looking at it. We got to look at our coding. We got to look at our design, how we're built, and then we got to repair that and put it back. We got to reboot that back online. So when we're looking at the damage of DNA can result from between somewhere 1,000 and 1 million individual molecular lesions per cell per day. What would cause something of that magnitude? Nano pollution, nano environmental stuff, the stuff that's in the air, that's all nano, the stuff that's in the food supply. And let's take this to another level. Let's look at the nano components that are in your body, nanometals like silver, copper, gold, selenium, aluminum, barium. These are all nano, cadmium, mercury, lead. These are all on a nano scale. What happens when an environmental effect, smart meters, towers, Wi-Fi, cell phone, activation of these particles with frequencies, what does that cause on the DNA? Lack of sufficient DNA repair is considered a cause of cell senescence. In other words, cellular death is a result of DNA not being able to repair itself. Programmed cell death. Hear these terms. Pay close attention to how this is worded. Programmed cell death. The cells were never meant to die. We were never meant to die. You know, we were meant to live. So when we're talking about programmed cell death, what are we talking about again? We're talking about metabolic activities that have been reprogrammed to malfunction. That's what's going on here with us. Our cells are being reprogrammed to malfunction so that we start to accelerate our aging, so that we die. Cellular senescence, meaning that cellular death. Programmed cell death and unregulated cell division. Unregulated. Okay, non-programmed cell division, which can lead to the formation of a tumor that is cancerous. In other words, we have programmed the cells from functioning in a normal realm to a new program that causes a mutation to occur, leading to cancer. This is all programming. When you're looking at cancer, when you're looking at everything that we're exposed to today, all sickness, all illness is a result, a direct or indirect result of programming. Something had to cause this. Something had to induce this. Something had to promote this. Something had to be exposed to us to create that program to enact in our systems. That's how you have to look at things. It's not just some virus that hits your body. We get hit with viruses day in and day out. But what causes a specific activity to occur when something hits you? A program. And what if that program has something in it, within it, a program within a program, or a subroutine within a program? Let's take a look at an STD, for instance, shall we? Let's look at herpes. I'm just going to get you to think here. I want you to speculate. I want you to again, embrace thinking. What if herpes, the STD herpes, the sexually transmitted disease herpes, what if sexually transmission means what it means, an injection? Two people getting together, exchanging chemistry, exchanging DNA, exchanging RNA, exchanging genetics. Okay? Again, transporting, not necessarily a disease, but we're transporting a program. Think about that for 1 minute. See, our bodies are able to contain, to sustain, not subvert, but to keep in suppression a lot of health issues. But when you're having an health issue that keeps on repeating itself with the same cyclical manner all the time, it's the same cyclical manner all the time, the same cyclical manner all the time, that's a program running in your body. That's a program running in your body. That's not how the disease works. That's the program enacting itself, cycling itself, running its algorithm. I'm trying to get you to think here. Trying to get you to have a different perception on things. Not just to accept that certain things are just pathological. Even in certain pathologies, that's a program routine. Which your body has the means to deal with those programs. Once they get hit, it reprograms your immune system to have a response mechanisms to contain or remove what is there. But when you have something continually having a cyclical effect all the time, same time, same stations, this year, next year, the year after, it just keeps on coming at the same exact cadence, you have a program operating inside of you. That's what we're talking about, because your DNA now has had a diversion or a new code implemented into it to cause this to occur. Now it's part of the DNA functionality. It's part of the DNA to continue to reproduce the same symptom at the same time, same place, because that's how it's been programmed, or that's how it has registered. Okay, this is so important that you understand this. Okay. When we're talking our genetic code, this is again a subroutine or sub-programming that's going on, or the main programming going on. It's part of our communications network, and anything that will go into our genetic code to rewrite the code. Remember, you hear the term genetic code. Genetic code. Coding. Okay. In other words, something that we can implement into our bodies to change the way the operational system is supposed to work. And again, I'm trying to get you to think. I'm trying to get you to look at what we're saying here. Because this is going to give you a whole new perspective in what you need to be taking as a supplement or as a vitamin, or even the foods you're eating, the things you're drinking, and the things you're exposing yourself to. I mean, you got to think about this even in another way. You know, when you're looking even on a connection way between you and, let's say, the opposite sex, because I'm of the mindset that God made Adam for Eve and not Steve, and Eve for Adam and not a Madam. I'm one of those kind of guys. You know, I believe that, you know, there's a biology that's supposed to be. That's part of the DNA programming. That's what I'm all about. The DNA programming. Anyway. When two people get together and have an interaction, they're exchanging not just body fluids. This is the superficial effect. You're exchanging DNA and you're exchanging code. And whatever the two of you have, you are going to again recode each other. This is where the concept of the two shall become one, because now you share the same code. So when you're thinking about that in terms of, you know, even on that level, that's a very pretty heavy-duty level when you think about that code, because anything can get into your system from that code. Now imagine you're taking a medication that can alter your genetic code, like say a vaccine, or some of these other drugs that, if you look at some of the side effects, genetic DNA damage is some of the side effects. When you're looking at that in itself, and you're taking those medications, and then you're sharing your DNA with your partner, what happens? This is something to really think about in these terms. You know, this is how amazing this is. So now we got to look at, what do we do? How do we get our code back? How do we reboot this? Okay. GHK with copper. Now, you can do this several different ways. You can take just gelatin, which has your histidine in it, and your glycine, combine it with lysine, and then combine that with copper. And then you can, like I said, do you can add zinc and copper with it, again, to increase the SOD content. You can add biotin to it to help, again, repair the collagen connections in the system. You know, there's a lot of different variations here that you can do here, but this is some of the things you want to look at. So if you're not, you know, if you want to look up more, if you go on my website at augmentinforce.com, look at the August 2017 script. I think it's there. There's a whole formulary there. I'm working on another one right here as well, so I'll be talking about this as well. Before I go on, let me reiterate, we are in the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. This is a support network. Support the network. Support them any way you can. They are, after all, activists, and they are activating the truth through this medium. You've got me here at 519-977-5351 or independz at yahoo.com. I have a website, augmentinforce.com. Feel free to check it out. We have a catalog link there for those of you interested in getting anything from me. And I also have, I don't have things on the catalog, so you can also request on the and through the email certain things that I may also have that I haven't had a chance to change. But there we have the, again, flash drive. We have the bucket. We have the triangle. We have the grounder. We have the repulsor. We have old-fashioned botanicals. We have books on DVD. We got 3 different books, or we can put them in one package, and I also do consultations. So again, feel free to contact me at, again, 519-977-5351, or feel free to contact me through the email at independz at yahoo.com. I also encourage you to go to byebyebluesky.com. Again, look at the site. She is going to be uploading the information on the animals with the nano. I think you need to go there because she's got some great stuff there. I work with Suzanne all the time. We collaborate on different ideas. We talk about different things in regard to all aspects of this whole technology we're dealing with in DNA. So again, check out her site. I'd encourage you to go there and take a look. She's got a lot to offer as well. So again, these are the activists that you want to pay attention to, because these are the ones that are actually trying to give you some assistance. So again, feel free to check her out as well. We're looking at today, the main theme today with your health, doesn't matter what anybody tells you, is your DNA. That's your main thing. That's what you got to protect. You got to protect that, mitochondria, your ATP, your genetic code, your chromosomal code. Your code is very key into your health, and if your code gets disruptive in any way, shape, or form, you are going to have a problem with sustaining your health, because if your genetic code, if your DNA cannot activate or deactivate what's coming into your system, then you will forever be fighting whatever you're dealing with. We never had this many sick people on the planet that I see today. And it's not just the United States and Canada, it's all over the planet. The Caribbean, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Russia, China. It doesn't matter where you are. We're having a global epidemic when it comes to people's health, and again, the numbers are extremely out there. 9.9 out of 10. Can you believe this? That's how bad it is. So the onus is going to be on you to do the research on your genetic code, on your DNA. What does it take to keep my DNA healthy? That's how you have to start looking at health. What does it take to keep my genetic code healthy? What does it take to keep my intestinal tract and my stomach at its optimal functionality? What do I have to avoid putting into my gut, that's going to cause a genetic alteration into my digestive system, like glyphosates and grains loaded with nanosilica and other nanometallics, that can be activated with frequencies, smart sensors, and smart dust in the food supply. This can cause severe genetic damage because those frequencies can alter the presence and the functionality of how your digestive system works. What do I do to sustain my immune system? How do I support my DNA in supporting my immune system? That's how you have to start to think. That's where you're going to come up with success. Because when you start thinking in those terms, instead of listening to every guru out there trying to sell you whatever junk they're selling you, that's when you're going to start to see a presence that you've never had in a long time. That's when you're going to start seeing your strength come back. That's when you start seeing your wits come back. That's when you start seeing your capacity to function come back. Your coordination will come back. You know, your body will start to work like it was meant to. And the more you understand how nanotechnology can infiltrate your cells, your DNA, how it can replicate, assemble with your DNA, and alter your DNA from within, that's when you're going to start to wake up and realize how lethal the lethality of this technology is, especially when it was never, ever, ever tested before it was released. They did the testing after the fact, and it is destroying this planet on a global level. It is the worst, worst, worst environmental pollutant we have ever been exposed to. It alters our plants, it alters our aquatic life, it alters our insects. Can you imagine getting bit by a bug? Let's say a grasshopper that normally wouldn't bite you, but would bite grasses and feed on grasses and vegetation, all of a sudden bites you and releases a nano program inside your body. Imagine a mosquito that they've genetically engineered now bites you. Or a tick that might bite you, or any other insect, a spider might bite you. All of a sudden, injecting into your body with its protein, because the protein would be the delivery method, into your body a genetic code that wasn't there before. Now starts to alter your genetic code because it's integrated with the proteins and other components that are in the saliva. Imagine that. Imagine getting bit by one of your pets. So you got a cat and actually she scratches you, or maybe a dog, maybe in playing, nips you a little bit, not to hurt you, not to purposely hurt you, but nips you and all of a sudden cuts you open, and you got now from their mouth whatever is being transported, because it's in all of us and in everything. And I get some of these people who are still living in the dark ages, in the old 1960 hippie mentality. Oh, all you gotta do, baby, is clean it up. Oh, just put a little acid in the water and it'll wash it off. These are the dumb ones. These are the dumb ones who don't have a clue about genetics and how penetration of these particulates get into the very membrane of the plants or anything you're eating for that matter, and then alters everything. Keep that in mind. We are dealing with a phenomena we've never dealt with before that's specifically designed to attack your DNA. That's where we're coming unglued. And that's where it's all coming down. So this is very important that you understand the nature of the assault that's going on your person. I hear music. All right, listen, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Get together. Cooperate. Solve the issues. Come up with a game plan. All right. Thanks. See you next week.